Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Do you know the famous quote, "Sorry my letter got so long, I didn't have the time to write a short one"? It bears an important truth. Writing a short but concise letter can take much more time than writing a long one. In this video, we continue our series on how to professionalize your emails. You will learn how to write clearly and concisely on every text. You'll get 4 guiding principles that help you keep your emails short but clear, and that help you to reduce word count without compromising on your message. If you're new to this channel, we help you to advance your career and become a more respected colleague, friend and spouse with easy to implement tips for every day. If that sounds interesting to you, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. If you are like us and you have studied at a university, you know that in academia, long sentences and big words are taken as an indicator for intelligence. In our universities, the inherent assumption is that if a text is almost impossible to understand, it must be profound. Psychologist J. Scott Armstrong analyzed this phenomenon when he compared the acceptance rates of texts to scientific journals. He found out that out of 2 content-wise identical texts, the more complicated ones were thought to be of higher value. Hence the saying, if you can't win them, confuse them. So it is fair to say that universities might make you a better thinker, but a worse writer. Because in business, you usually don't want to baffle people with confusing word salads. Quite the contrary. You want to make people directly understand your message and do exactly what you want them to do. Therefore, in this video, we give you 4 guiding principles on how to make your text clear and concise. Let's kick it off with tip number 1. Think and revise before writing and sending your text. The foundation of clear and concise writing is knowing what you want your readers to know and to do. Since everything you write is designed to prompt action and understanding, you must know exactly what you want your readers to do and to know before you start writing your text. This may sound trivial to you, but in some cases, you yourself might not know exactly what you want the reader to know or to do after reading your message. So if you don't know what to say, at least in broad outline, you need to invest almost all your intellectual capabilities as you write along to figure that out. And the result is twofold. You'll have a page full of rambling, disjointed thoughts and ideas, and a reader so overcome with frustration that he is totally demotivated to do anything with your message. In the following example, the writer drags her reader along her endless train of thought before she comes to the point that she actually wanted to make. Let's read this example together and count the words as we read it. When I was attending last week's roundtable in Dallas at the Pyramid Hotel, I realized that I need to talk to you about the possibility that we are going to have to look into updating our RFP language. 38 words for what she actually wanted to say is, we need to consider updating our RFP language. 8 words. So if the second sentence does not come to your mind instantaneously, you can draft a first version of your sentence that looks exactly like the sentence above. But since your reader does not want to join you in your inner thought process that maybe even you haven't sufficiently explored, you need to put it together at the end, make it much more clearer and concise. If instead you're sending out the first version of the sentence, you are guaranteed to distract your reader, who might miss the entire point of your sentence or might not even read it at all. So you might think now, well, that will take a lot of time if I have to review everything I write or sit down and think hard about the core message before putting anything down on paper. And yes, you're right. Hence the quote from the famous physicist Blaise Pascal. "Sorry my letter got so long, I didn't have time to write a short one." So yes, writing concisely takes a lot of time, but it's very much worth it. Let's move over to tip number 2. Use the active voice. The active voice is the bedrock of clarity in the English language because it identifies clearly who is doing what. One easy way to make sure you use the active voice is by letting your speech guide you through your text. So never use words or formulations that you would not say directly to a reader's face. By letting your speech guiding you through your text, you make sure that you are using more simple words, that you delete empty words, and that you trim off rambling phrases. Having said that, one cautionary note: avoid being overly informal. Although you should let your speech guide you through your text, you should never write exactly as you speak. Especially avoid slang and abbreviations, because slang and abbreviations, as much as interpunctuation errors or grammar errors, make an impression of laziness or excessive informality. If you let your speech guide you, you will almost always use the active voice because you use it so often. In fact, you almost always speak in active voice, like I watch a YouTube video that is very helpful. You can also use it in past tense. We've been thinking about this a long time. That is also active voice, just past tense. When we speak, we almost use the active voice as naturally as breathing. But when we start writing, we sometimes try to sound more intelligent, and that results in sentences full of passive constructions, so wordy, so convoluted, and so confusing that we are almost guaranteed to lose even the most ambitious readers along the way. Take a look at this example. If you can find out what the writer wanted to tell us within 2 seconds, kudos to you. I couldn't do it. So how do I know what good use of active voice is? Let's have a look at this easy to understand definition of active voice. In active voice, the doer or agent of an action comes before the verb. So in active voice, it's very clear who does what or who has done what. For example, my neighbors have bought a Tesla. In the passive voice, the doer or agent of an action comes after the verb. It can be explicitly mentioned or implied. For example, a Tesla was bought by my neighbors. Or it is expected that the company will be profitable within the next year. In the last example, it is only implied who is expecting that. Could be we, could be an analyst, could be whoever. There are 2 exceptions from this rule. Number 1, the passive voice is the right choice if the doer or agent of the action is unimportant or already understood, or you want to put special emphasis on the outcome. For example, the customer data is stored in the cloud. The second exception of the rule is if political expediency demands a less direct, less offensive approach. For example, mistakes were made. Let's move over to tip number 3. Put the action in the verb. Believe it or not, for this tip you don't need to know exactly what qualifies as a verb. For this principle to work, you don't need this understanding, which is the heart and soul of sentence clarity. Before we look at examples to show you what I mean with putting the action in the verb, consider this. Look for words that hide actions and convert them into action words. Let's have a look at these examples. The sentence, "We are conducting an analysis of these numbers," transforms into "We are analyzing these numbers." And the sentence, "The company is involved in developing and distributing a customer loyalty program," transforms into "The company develops and distributes a customer loyalty program." You see, in the English language, these words that hide the action often end with TION, or like in the second example, they are bracketed with the, of, or an. As you see in the examples, putting the action in the verb leads to much shorter sentences, which leads us to our tip number 4. Keep the average length of your sentences between 15 and 28 words. Why 15 as the lower limit? Because if your average length sentence is below 15, you either bark at your reader or you sound as though you are struggling with the language. Either way, you would sound very choppy if your average length sentence is below 15. An average longer than 28 words is just frying your reader's brain, as they will have trouble understanding the sentence in its entirety and follow your entire thought process. Let's have a look at these examples. Let's count the words as we read along. Our extensive experience indicates that these projects are most successful when the client commits to the provision of a dedicated point of contact who then facilitates logistics and provides assistance with issue resolution when required, as well as serving as the first client review of deliverables before they are presented to senior management. A 53-long monster of a sentence. Let's see how we can express the same content with much shorter sentences, much easier to digest. In this example, you see that we use bullets, and it's very clear what we want the reader to do to ensure the success of the project. He needs one person to serve as a dedicated point of contact and review deliverables before they are presented to senior management. Easy to grasp and easy to understand with 39 words. A final word on this. If you're writing about a complicated topic, compensate for the inherent complexity of your subject by using easy words and easy sentence structures. If you do so, your efforts will result in a better understanding and, as we hope, endless promotions for you. Unless you're writing for a scientific journal. In this case, the motto is confuse to impress. So there you have it, 4 powerful tips on how to write clearly and concisely and make the reader appreciate your communication. What other tips do you have for writing clearly and concisely? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to make sure you write with the right tone, stay tuned for upcoming videos. You'll also get a very useful template for the perfect request email and learn how to convey bad news via email. So hit the subscribe button and the bell to never miss out on a new and helpful video. So long, take care, and see you next time.